Barcelona today are one of the most ubiquitous clubs on the planet. Everywhere you go on this formerly green earth, you can find someone wearing a Barcelona shirt, a Barça flag or scarf in a bar, or a shop selling more or less legitimate merch. It seems that their motto, "Més que un club," more than a club, rings true. However, this motto used to signify something totally different than Barcelona signing virtually every sponsor imaginable, renting out their stadium name, and signing superstars for obscene fees. It used to mean community, basically a home for the Catalan people where they could be themselves and speak their own language during decades of discrimination and oppression. Much like their counterparts in Bilbao, who only field Basque players, Barcelona's ethos reflected their national identity, with the core of the squad encompassing the best Catalunya had to offer, aided by quality players from abroad. This sense of Catalan community, on one hand, and acceptance of anybody regardless of nationality as long as they wanted to join this community, was instilled by their founder and resonates within the club to this day, despite it becoming more and more diluted over the years. Joan Gamper was born in 1877 in Winterthur, Switzerland, and was a man who had an unbridled love for sport. In his early life, sports were a much-needed coping mechanism as he lost his mother to tuberculosis at just 8 years old and moved to Zurich with his father and siblings. In his youth, he trained as an apprentice in the silk trading business, and apart from football, he practiced cycling, tennis, rugby, and basically any sport he could get his hands or feet on. He made his footballing debut for Excelsior Zurich, a now defunct team, who played in red and blue, thus sparking his love for the colors he would later introduce to Barcelona. As some players split off from the team to form their own club, Gamper managed to reunite with them and found FC Zurich, who would go on to become one of the best Swiss teams throughout history. Due to his status as a pioneer of Swiss football and his skills on the pitch, he was allowed to represent multiple clubs as a guest player, most notably FC Basel. This has led many people to speculate that Barcelona's famous Blaugrana colors are derived from Basel's colors. However, it would make much more sense to assign the inspiration to Excelsior, Gamper's first team. Despite having already played several seasons of football, holding 2 records for track running and moonlighting as a rugby player at FC Lyon for a year, Gamper was still in his early 20s when he moved to Barcelona. Despite initially visiting his uncle on his way to Africa to set up a coffee and sugar business in the Bioko Islands off the coast of Cameroon, he fell in love with the city and his uncle convinced him to settle there. He quickly found work at Crédit Lyonnais, the Sarria Railway Company, and 2 Swiss newspapers where he worked as a sports columnist. It is not specified if he did all of these jobs at the same time, but knowing him, he probably did. I barely get one thing done per day, but Gamper somehow found extra time to play football both with the local Swiss immigrants and his new friends that he met in Barcelona. It was around this time that he started going by Joan to make it easier for the locals to pronounce his name, as the name Hans is often a contraction of the name Johannes, from which Joan emerged. Just like in his native Switzerland, Gamper immediately tried to set up a local footballing club, but local sports venues rejected his proposal to create an organized football team as they did not want foreigners in their team and wished to remain solely Catalan. With the help of his friend Walter Wild, he met Narciso Masferrer, one of the most important pioneers of Catalan sports and a journalist who published an advert written by Gamper, and on the 29th of November 1899, Football Club Barcelona was founded as a place where people of all nationalities could come together through football. With a mix of Swiss, British and Spanish players in their squad, their second ever game saw them win 3-1 against Catalunya FC, the club who had earlier refused Gamper's proposal. With Gamper now leading the line and scoring a frankly insane 126 goals in 55 games for the club, Barcelona quickly became one of the best teams in Catalunya, winning early regional competitions like the Copa Macaya and the Copa Barcelona. Their first ever El Clásico win also came during this era, with Barcelona winning their first competitive game against Real Madrid 3-1 in the semi-final of the Copa del Rey, with Gamper scoring one of the 3 goals. As the club was on its way to becoming an early superpower, Gamper would end his playing days to concentrate on his personal and financial life, getting married in 1907 and working on his company that imported colonial wares. However, by 1908, Barcelona was in dire straits, with many of the players of Gamper's time leaving the club and not being replaced. After having led his team on the pitch, it was time for him to take the reins behind the scenes. He immediately used his business acumen to drum up local financial support and entice new members or socios to join the club, and managed to secure the first permanent stadium of the club, the Camp de la Industria. Over the next 14 years, he would be re-elected 4 more times as president of Barcelona, 14 years in which he shaped the club into a success story. Under his tenure, the first professional manager was appointed, Englishman Jack Greenwell, who would coach Barcelona for 10 consecutive seasons. Club legends Paulinho Alcantara, Ricardo Zamora and Josep Samitier were recruited, and the Catalan language became the official language of the club. Over this time period, the club also became a beacon of Catalan resistance and desire for independence in the eyes of many, which no doubt irked many in Madrid. The same people who viewed Barcelona as a dangerous force for separatism had to witness the team win 11 Catalunian championships, 6 Copa del Rey trophies, who back then also acted as the Spanish championship, and 4 Pyrenees Cups, the last of which being one of the first European international tournaments. In 1922, with memberships already in the tens of thousands and spectators cramming themselves into the small Camp de la Industria, Barcelona moved to the much more spacious Camp de les Corts, which they would call home until moving to their current ground in 1957. On the 1st of July 1924, a few months before the club's 25-year anniversary, Gamper would be elected as president for the 5th time. That same month, a friendly game was hosted in the honor of the Orfeo Català choir, with a visiting band from the British Royal Marines providing a rendition of both the Spanish and the British national anthems. The 14,000 spectators gathered at the Camp de les Corts jeered and booed the Spanish national anthem incessantly, immediately cheering for God Save the King afterwards. A response from Madrid was sure enough to be swift and brutal. At the time, Spain was ruled by General Manuel Primo de Rivera, who in 1923 staged a coup d'etat with the tacit approval of King Alfonso XIII. A staunch populist dictator, Primo de Rivera would never let such blatant display of Catalan nationalism slide, and decided to use this pretext to accuse the club of promoting secessionist ideas, and forced Gamper into a 3-month exile, forcing him to give up any contact with the club he created for the rest of his life, and closing Barcelona Stadium for 5 months. Little is known about Gamper's later life, except that he lost all of his assets and fortune in the 1929 stock market crash and suffered from multiple depressive episodes. These culminated in 1930 when he decided to end his own life, with many people speculating that this was in fact orchestrated by the Spanish government. His funeral was attended by thousands as Barcelona players carried his coffin through the streets of their city on their way to the Montjuic cemetery. His passing did not prevent him from becoming one of the most revered men in Catalunya, and in 1955 Barcelona decided to start construction work on a new stadium named in his honor. Another dictator, this time Francisco Franco, an avid supporter of another giant of Spanish football, opposed the move. Nonetheless, Joan Gamper's name finally got the recognition it deserved in 1966 with the founding of the Joan Gamper Trophy, a pre-season friendly competition held every year at the Camp Nou. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end. Let me know in the comments whether you think Barcelona's ideals and values still align with those instilled by their founder, and if you like the content, a like and a subscribe would help me out a lot.